go into that space, find the softness. Find what it is you desire, and then when you do create the structure, start with one small step that's achievable, feels doable, but also tickles your boundaries a little. Like, ooh, that desire that I felt when I was embodied and took the space to land, that surprised me. Maybe I should explore that, you know? So like when you create that structure, create that room to explore. Okay, so this is number 2 on my list of all-time favorite hot beverages, or as Aussies would say, hot bevies. I'm very excited to drink this. Let's get settled. This is the Body Brew series. We're going to be talking about structure with softness, masculine and feminine, but in relation to structure and structuring your day, structuring your weeks, your lives. And we're going to get settled. Not so delicate when you have a skirt on and the camera's right there, but we're going to get settled. We're going to take a nice hot sip of whatever brew you prefer, and we're going to chat about structure. So to start with, in my 20s, that was something I really had to explore and, you know, trial and error and learn from, is how to find a structure that worked for me. So, you know, my early 20s was where the structure was so rigid and controlling that it actually, in my attempt to control everything, to have a balance, I was actually just overwhelming myself with the pressure to need to do, to be everything, that I ended up resenting it and went the opposite way and just kind of gave up on. There was a moment in my Saturn return, mid to late 20s, where I just kind of gave up on that structure, gave up on it altogether because I began to resent it. I was in like a victimhood mentality. And then I had to, from there, go into the feminine, find the softness, find the space to listen. And from that, I learned that structure isn't actually something we do before the softness. Structure is not something we do to create the softness. It's actually the softness that comes first. We listen, we make space, we take the time to land before we move. I talked about this in the first episode of the Body Brew series. And then from there, once we've really embodied what it feels like for ourselves, what do we want, what do we desire, what do we want our life to look like, we move from that place. That's where the structure is built to bring that desire of, you know, what we want into our reality, but also, and this is the key point, figuring out what that pace feels like for you. So figuring out what pace is going to feel good for you, and also being open to adjusting that structure. Because when I was in my early 20s, the other reason I started to resent it is because there was no room for like adjusting. It was very rigid. It was a masculine imbalance. And so I really had to learn how to revive my masculine when I got to my mid to late 20s and started to resent that aspect of myself and delve really deep into more feminine practices like Reiki, like Womb Hara, somatic embodiment. It created that space for me to learn what exactly it was I wanted and what pace I wanted out of life that felt good for my soul, that didn't feel overwhelming. And I would say probably the key thing here, the key takeaway, or what I really want to chat about when it comes to structure and softness, is like go into that space, find the softness, find what it is you desire, and then when you do create the structure, start with one small step that's achievable, feels doable, but also tickles your boundaries a little. And that's what I've come to know, you know, like, okay, I go in, I land before I move, I find the space, I find my desires, I find the pace that I want to go at which to achieve those desires. But then it's like creating this structure based on things that feel achievable but also tickle the comfort zone a little, you know, like, ooh, that desire that I felt when I was embodied and took the space to land, that surprised me. Maybe I should explore that, you know? So like when you create that structure, create that room to explore, create that room to push to the point of your boundaries, not past, but to the point of your boundaries, to a comfortable, you know, limit. That's where like the pacing comes in and the softness behind the structure comes in. So I would say that's definitely something that I came to learn when it comes to structure, and that I came to rewrite what structure, redefine what structure meant for me, and kind of heal my inner masculine from that place, was by actually having the softness before the structure come in. And then kind of cycled that way. So it's almost like starting with the softness and then leading with the structure and then coming back to softness. It's that cycle. And that cycle might go in a downward spiral or an upward spiral or an outward spiral or an inward spiral. It's like the eras and phases of our life when it comes to structure and softness, masculine and feminine. It's all very expansive and collective and very cool. So that's everything I wanted to chat about for this week's Body and Brew series. Let me know. I'd be really curious to know what lands in your body when you tune into your masculine. What lands in your body when you listen to your masculine right now. Is there tension or is there relief? Is there a sense of rest or perhaps restlessness? And just tuning into what the pace of life feels like for you right now. Are you going at a speed that's overwhelming you, or is it a speed that excites you, or is it a speed that feels like it's too slow? Perhaps you're, landing before you move, but hesitating to make the next move, so stuck in that landing position, Let me know how that feels for you when you tune in. I'm really curious. I love talking about this stuff. That's why I'm on here. That's why I love this Body and Brew series, the Monday Movement series, and all my other ways of connecting with people and with women. So yeah, let me know how this lands for you. I hope you've enjoyed your beverage while you've been watching with me. I'm gonna go off and enjoy the rest of mine, and I will see you in the next episode.